Hey guys, we got Dasha Lundy in the house. She is from District 1, County Commission in Knoxville. She just was sworn in earlier this week, correct? And so we're trying to expand our knowledge of who's where, what they're doing, how they got there, what they're into, that kind of thing. And so we'll ask her some questions about her district, and about her goals now that she is on the commission. And we'll also get into some of the stuff about like what it was like to run, and now that the running's behind you, what's the transition like as far as coming in and out of campaign mode into governance mode. So we'll get started with Dasha Lundy, everybody. All right, Dasha. See, I did it again. I prepped myself really hard to say it right. Dasha. And I said Dasha, and I apologize. I really didn't mean to. In the intro there, I referenced one of the things I'm really curious about, one of the things we talk about a lot is the process as much as the people. Mm-hmm. And so the process of what gets somebody into politics, what gets them to make the decision to run, and then once running, one of the things that Matt Shears was talking about when he was here is a big thing. He's like, he hates candidates that like to campaign. Mm-hmm. He wants candidates that like to govern that he has to force to campaign because he wants people that want to do the job, not the job of getting the job. And so,
that's interesting, yeah.
And so, like right now, we were talking a little bit before the show, in that you're not our first, but you're one of our first guests. You're the first of this new election, at least, that is won the election, has now been sworn in. You got sworn in this past Monday, the 30th, Tuesday the 1st. Yeah. Uh-huh. And so, I guess the first thing to me is like, what's it like shifting gears? Like, what's it like going from, okay, this is no longer give me the job, this is now I got to do the job. Like, what's that like for you as far as that process goes?
I think I've been ready to do the job. I'm whatever Matt said, I agree. I don't think I'm the best at campaigning, but I did win, so I must have did something right?
True story.
But I'm a hard worker, and I love being involved in stuff. So it's just, I'm ready just to get the ball rolling. We already had our first meeting Tuesday after we got sworn in. We had our organizational meeting.
Right, and there were new chairs and stuff like that.
Yeah, with the chair and the vice chair.
Right, because I'm here in District 4, and District 4 was the old District 4, who's retired, was the chair.
Hugh.
Yeah, Hugh Nystrom. Yeah, mm-hmm. and so I don't think a freshman should be coming in as the chair, so I don't think it's automatic. So Kyle, I don't think, was seeking that by any way, shape, or form, and so some of the procedure stuff goes right off the bat. So to go a little bit back in time, what was the impetus for you to go from an active citizen trying to do well for her community into wanting to actually be in office?
So honestly, I never thought I would ever run for office, and I have talked to so many politicians over the past few weeks. And
you reminded yourself why you didn't want to be in politics?
Well,
is that what you're saying?
No, I was just, I talked to Governor Haslam. I like, hey, I introduced myself, and he the same question, why did you run? I said, well, I never thought I will run for office. He's like, yeah, that's kind of all of our answers. Right. We just kind of end up in it. But I've always been involved in our community ever since I was probably in high school. Just always volunteer.
Right. I saw on your profile on your page, on your campaign page at least, that you basically live in the same neighborhood you grew up in, and that is the district you're currently in and stuff like that, which that's kind of cool. My dad changed jobs a bunch, and so I've been all over. Like right now in this house, since we bought this house when we had kids, is the longest single place I've ever lived in my life.
Oh,
and we're crossing 8 years, and it's weird. Like, that's a long time to be in one place for me. And so like there's a bit of jealousy in that to me. Like I have friends like, actually, now I'm thinking about it, like everybody that's on the show, we're all a bunch of wanderers. Like, all our families have wandered over the years when we were kids. But like, I have some friends that run around town that like they're the house they started elementary school in is the house they graduated high school in, and then they went off to college and came back out to the same neighborhood.
That's
and
my story.
It's kind of cool. I don't know I don't know.
Yeah.
It just never was for me, so I don't know what that is. Okay, so so always active in the community, but what was the actual switch? Was there something particular? Was it somebody gave you the hey, you should do this, you'd be good at it? Or?
I think it was tons of people say, hey, you should do this, you'd be good at it. And that was like a 2-year process that people kept asking, and I kept saying no, I'd rather just kind of stay at the neighborhood level, because I was the president of neighborhood organization in Burlington. And it just switched. I don't know what it was. And I I'm always trying to look for new challenges in life. And it just overnight, I guess it was just like, man, maybe I should, because how something constantly chases you, you kind of hear it in the background. Maybe you should go out and jump off the cliff and try it. Right. So I decided to jump off the cliff.
I get that, because that's kind of what we were here. It was kind of like we joked about it for like 6-9 months, because like, I mean, still in the reality of things, podcasts are very new media, but they've been around for a few years now, and I've been listening to podcasts regularly for a couple of years now, and it's like, it doesn't seem that hard, like at least as far as like the format and the setup and all the stuff like that. And just back in February, I was like, oh, let's just do it. And I was like, guys, come over, we're gonna do this thing. And then we just started doing it, and now you're my 24th interview. We've had 26 standard episodes and like 4 or 5 bonuses, and like
sometimes you just gotta step out and see what happens.
Yeah, and so that's cool. And I think that's one of those general things that a lot of people are afraid of, because what happens if I lose? Well,
and that's what, and then people gave me that all the time, because I ran against the incumbent, and people always try to say you should do this, you should do that, and I'm one of those. I don't like obeying those, I guess, cultural rules or personality rules, whatever.
Yeah, that was one of Kyle's things. When Kyle Ward was in here, that was one of his things. Like, because he was going, because Nystrom was retiring, but I'm bad at names. I should be better at names if I'm going to do this job. But the guy he ran the Republican primary against was kind of was Nystrom's tap, and it's like, this is who's replacing me. And then Kyle's like, well, I kind of want to do it too, and then he beat him pretty significantly in the primary on that one, which is pretty interesting. And again, like he was telling us, he was like, a lot of people are like, you're too young to do this and this, that, and the other, and he's like, well, that's fine, we'll figure it out, and so he went ahead and did it anyway. And I think that's a good mindset. I think it's a good mindset for making more functional changes moving forward for us as a community. Because one of the things that, like, I never put a lot of thought into until we started doing the show and talking to candidates. It's like, you're District 1, which is what, downtown and then east, right?
East, Knoxville, and a little bit of Mechanicsville and Lonsdale. So it goes a little west.
So a little bit of the north portion of downtown. Okay. And so, as much as you're not in my district, it still matters to me, even though I'm way over here on the other side of town, because it's the county seat, And so this is when I was talking to the District 2 people about it. Is the entirety of your district in city?
It's in the city.
Okay, see, because that still weirds me out. Like,
it weirds me out too sometimes.
Because because Grant and Courtney were District 2, and I talked to both of them about that and how's that managing. And I mean, it's the same for Kyle a little bit, I guess. There's a good bit of city that squeezes out here. I mean, that fence that you can see out the window, that's city on the other side of the fence.
Oh, okay, cool.
And then the street that you came in on, not my street, but the street before you turned, that's city. And so like the first set of houses on that road are all city houses, and then once you get into this neighborhood, it's county.
It's county. Oh,
yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So like,
that's interesting.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And city's right there.
Yeah. Well, there's one house in this neighborhood that he annexed. He asked to be annexed, and so there's one house like 3 houses down the street from me that's in the city. It's the funniest thing ever. You look at the map and it's just like, it's like dark gray for the city, light gray for the county, and then this one property dot of city right in the middle of this county. And it's weird to me. It's one of the things, and I don't know if you've heard me rant about it. You guys listening have heard me rant about it. I'm on this kick about whether or not going metro is a good idea. I've had a lot of conversation with Todd Fromeyer, who was running for District 4, who lost to Kyle. We've had a lot of back and forth through our Facebook page about it. And I still think it's probably the right idea, but he is correct in the sense that I'm assuming a good bit of it, but I guess the first step to be is a true exploration of the idea, because we haven't done it in 20 something years, and who's active in Knoxville that was here 20 something years ago, and how much different it is. Because I've lived in Knoxville for 25 years, and where we are now was out in the boonies when I first moved to Knoxville, and for all intents and purposes, this is just as much city of Knoxville, all this stretch of Kingston Pike out by me and stuff like that. So I'm just very curious about the idea, like the complexities of it, having Virginia Babin here from the school board, talking about how the school board funding and all that kind of stuff goes. And that's where I get lost in the whole thing, whether it's the metro discussion or anything else, because I started this bringing up that your entire district is in the city. And what Grant was explaining to me is that the city council and the county commission have a different set of duties, and so they don't really overlap, but it still confuses me.
But you still serve the same people,
right?
And that makes it confusing for the people,
right?
Like, who do you call?
Well, because that's one of my things, and I get to take off a layer because I don't have a city councilman because I'm in the county, except my kid's school is in the city, my business is in the city, but my business is on the other side of town. And so it's in a separate set of the city. And so, like, that's one of the things to me, and it's one of the things I talked to Chris Davis from the Election Commission about. It's like trying to figure out a clear path for a citizen to engage with the system. Maybe the system's not their best word, but with their local government, with their elected officials, the people that they voted for, and whether that person they voted for won or not, whatever. But like with an issue, like depending on what the issue is, there's a different person to call. And the lazy answer that I hear from everybody is call your county commissioner. That's the first person. Just call them first. But I would think it'd probably be an equal toss if you're in the city. Call your city councilman or
Yeah, it
or
seems like,
commissioner.
a lot of people, I get, sidewalk complaints, already. And usually that's the city.
Right.
Even though county can do it, but it usually goes to the city because it's in the city.
Right.
And that's been a big complaint, from other political leaders that held my seat before. They say county does not invest enough in the city because they put it all on the city to do the work.
Right.
So
but the question would be like if you are a city resident and you're paying that extra city tax, is that not what that bonus of city tax is supposed to pay for? So if you're a county, you're like, well, that's not a county duty because this is a city.
Well, we pay city and county taxes,
right? But amenity, right? That'd be a city amenity to have the X, Y, and Z done. Because again, that's a perfectly good example. Is that and why the metro premise makes sense to me. Maybe I'm missing something. I respect that idea, but it's like, well, whose taxes pay for X, and depending on what X is, trash is an easy one. If you're in the city pays for trash pickup. Like that's an easy one. But a sidewalk, a roadway, some of the other larger infrastructure, like we have this fun conversation currently about the new baseball stadium thing. I'd be curious to your thoughts because that's right in the dead center of your district, more or less. But and so to me, there's a transparency issue or there's a complexity that is making the transparency harder. And that's one of the reasons Metro makes sense to me. But even if we don't want to go down the Metro hole, just the further I get into this, the more I'm frustrated with other voters. Like I'm not so mad at you guys for doing what you think you're supposed to be doing and stuff like that. I'm mad at us for not knowing what you're actually supposed to be doing. Like it's like you have a job to do, but I don't know what it is. And and sometimes you guys don't know what it is. And like it's been interesting talking to because one of the things, and you have it on your webpage too, is you talk about school system stuff. And it's like the way I'm understanding the way this thing works is the school board is almost unilaterally separate from everybody in their decision making, and other than they get to they have to get their budget approved by the county.
Yeah, but they get to decide
what and how they do it. And so I think that's an example of one of the things that as a voter, it's really hard to see through that mess. Because, for example, with the Gina, like when Gina was in here, she was talking about the schools. When Eddie was in here, he was talking about the schools. When Virginia was in here, that's all three that were on that ticket, and they're all talking about the schools. And the further and the deeper I get into it, the less the less my understanding is that they have anything to do with it.
Yeah, all we can do is just approve the budget for the schools.
And so that's one of the things that frustrates me because again, I have kids, but I say this all the time that kids are not the school board matters to you. As a county resident, the school board matters to you because they're spending 2/3 of the money collected by this county, sorta. I'm still trying to figure out the math because that's been a conversation on how much of the $600 million budget is state and federally kicked in and how much is actually coming out of the county coffers. That really confuses me too. And that really frustrated me. And I went on a bad rant last night. I apologize, Virginia. I wasn't mad at you. You're
a ranter.
It's hard. It's hard when I had Virginia Babbitt here on the school board and we were talking finance stuff. And one of the questions I asked her was, where does the money come from? How much of that $600 million is my money as a county resident versus my income tax from the federal government or my state portion of my sales tax? And it's like, well, I don't know. And it's like, I understand she's not the finance person in the school board, but like your actions change depending on who's paying you. I mean, that's just natural. And so because one of the things for the schools to me is like, how much does Knox County School Board have to answer to the state? Like how much do they have to, because like you get the federal stuff all the time. Like what was the stupid thing Trump just did? There's a mountain of them. Trump was talking about, holding back federal funds for these different cities that the mayors are allowing certain activities that like the different riding, whatever that thing. It's not the point of the thing. It's that there's these strings attached to this federal money. And so Trump's pulling the strings because he can. Agree or disagree with that part of it's not the point, but that's not a unique idea to Trump. That's normal. The Nashville has strings attached to money they send to Knox County. And like those things are interesting to me, and like how to get that clearly out that people understand that some of this you guys have to do in office, even though you don't want to, because we need the funding from the state to come back into it. Again, like I said, I'm a ranter. I've been doing it.
I love it.
So
I love ranters.
So-
I'm a ranter. I had to calm down my ranting.
for your political correctness.
Well, I know before political, it's just like, just trying to be nice to people. Nobody wants you going off on them, I guess.
See, then I know that we've talked about that. Like, it's like
You got to be a team player.
well, we've talked about in the off show. It's like I've gone on a fairly serious number of rants about as a voter, lazy voters frustrate me. Lazy voters that don't take the time, which I was one of them for many years. And the further I'm getting into this, the more mad I am about it, because like we were just saying, like, as much as you are not my district, you are a county commissioner for me. I live in Knox County. You are a county commissioner for me.
Decisions.
But I don't know. I don't know where those decisions starts and ends.
Yeah.
Because like we were talking about before with the sidewalk thing, if there's one particular thing, like one of the issues I had before in one of our businesses that we'd ended up shutting down for a mountain of reasons, is we had this big argument about with the city about the size of our sign on the building. And like the way the rules are written and kind of like this kind of stuff. And it's further out west than we are now in county, but it's in one of those, it's on North Shore, and that whole stretch of North Shore is still city, even though it's further away from downtown Knoxville than we are right now. And so we had this whole big thing, and it wasn't we were trying to scam, it wasn't trying to do more than we were supposed to do. We couldn't figure out who to talk to get the right answer. And and so those kind of things really frustrate me. And it's like one of the things to me is that, like, we joked in the pre-show about, if you were following the Gina Ostermanis conversation at all, is Thursday, News Sentinel did their second article on that situation after the results. And it's like, this has been a long-running thing. This has been a fairly contentious campaign from day one. There's no media on it locally. Like, I'm not good at this.
Your local media right now.
I know. That's what I'm saying. That's the problem.
Yeah.
I'm a guy in my basement that's just calling people randomly, like, "Hey, come hang out for an hour and we'll talk about stuff."
Yeah, and you're the one that can educate the voters.
Well, and that's the goal. I mean,
Yeah. So sometimes it may not be lazy voters. It may just be so dang on confusing. Like, why should I listen?
Right. Well, because
so that's something. There was a rally yesterday, Unite to Vote rally in Shelby Park, and it's like we always tell people to go vote and do this, but we don't give them the next steps.
Right. Other than vote for who I tell you to vote for.
Vote for this person, and then you go mind your own business. And I think that's not a great way to empower your community.
Right.
And somehow, and I know the League of Women Voters, they do a good job. They do citizens academies to educate people. But, how do you get more people there? I mean, they probably have like 30, 40 people.
Right. Like I was saying, who was it? I can't remember who it was. They posted on their Facebook page that they were endorsed by the Sierra Club. So what does that mean? Like, I don't know what the Sierra Club is. I know a little bit. It's like some sort. Anyway, it's semi-environmentalist. It's kind of that direction. And it's like, that's cool, but I mean,
what does it mean to you?
Right.
So some people like, as long as you know somebody.
Right. Some people in some club that I don't know what they do likes this person. Well, it doesn't mean anything.
So it's a spirit influence. It's like, you're voting. If it's somebody that you like, and they like, I'm voting for so and so, then they expect you to vote for so and so. And
I'll tell you what, like this last election in August, I had more. It was the longest it took me to vote, I guess is the best way to put it. Like I actually sat there and I was looking at it and I was like, I met him, I met her, I met her, I met him, man. Because nobody, like, I have opinions and I have, like, philosophical differences with people that have been on here, and enough to make a difference in my voting habits on it. But, like, really when it came down to it, it's like, I don't think I don't think there's anybody that I've talked to yet that at least the intent isn't good. They may have a direction that I don't agree with, but I think their intent is good. And so it's like, man, now I got to really think. And this is probably why people don't pay that much attention, because once they pay attention, then they have to put more effort into thinking about it when they actually have to do it.
And then you might get yourself in a rabbit hole.
Right. And I've met these people and they're nice people. And it's like, well, I don't want to be the bad guy that doesn't, I don't want to, and I'm also stubborn enough that I will say on air who I voted for and this, that, and the other. And then they're going to listen to it and then I'm going to feel guilty about it and all this weird stuff. I don't know. Maybe I overthink it, but it's it's very frustrating to me to bring this back around. It's very frustrating to me how hard it is for me to get information. And that's really the genesis of what we're doing right now. The only reason I started doing this is I've told the story like 5 times this week. Gina was in the Gina Eddie Manis in that primary. I started to look into it, and there was 0 out there that wasn't their own stuff. Or all the Eddie stuff was his mayoral run stuff. And it's like, well, that's a different race. You're going for a different job. You're going to say different things. Makes sense. You know, yeah, you can get a sense of the person. But as far as like specific questions, like, well, Eddie Manis, what do you think about the downtown or the moving the Justice Complex up to the Old St. Mary's? That has nothing to do with his new job. So that doesn't tell me anything. And that's literally, there's nothing there. And so I was like, well, screw it. I'm going to call these people. Let's see what happens. And then they started coming on, and then I'm 25 in now, and I'm having a good time with it. Okay, so we got way off topic onto other stuff. So again, we're talking about your entire district is in city limits, so you have that double kind of thing there. And so is there a few or 1 or 2 particular things that you're kind of want to spearhead moving into this, or you want to get in there, take some time, get the lay of the land?
Well, when I ran my campaign, my passion is racially economic development, and I don't know if you followed my videos, but I said a lot about the 42% poverty rate among blacks in Knox County and how embarrassing that is. And District 1 has the majority blacks in the county.
Right.
That's pretty much where most of us live, but we're all spread out everywhere. But just really trying to figure out how we can improve the economy. I grew up in East Knoxville, and it has declined drastically, and I don't understand why.
Right.
I understand, but I don't understand, because there's so many opportunities there. We have a zoo that gets 500,000 visitors a year.
Right.
500,000 people. That's 500,000 people spending.
And you have Chandler's, and you have the Pizza Palace.
And I love Pizza Palace. Now, I love Philippine Connection. Have you been there?
Chandler's is like, if I'm over there in the Chilhowie area, I have to go into Chandler's. I have to.
They caught on fire, but they're coming back.
I haven't been there for a while, so.
Yeah, so we have that. I think we have a lot of character. We have those mom and pop restaurants that are pretty popular.
And but that's the big catch. That just jumped out at me. That's the big catch to me, is that it's hard to grow and keep character. That's one of those things that I don't know the right way to go about that. But I think that's what I'd like to see. I like the convenience of having a Chick-fil-A and whatever nearby and all that kind of stuff. But I like finding that place that has a really crappy webpage, because the husband and wife team that work there, the wife's the one that's trying to build the web thing, and she doesn't know what she's doing. It's just like, it's got the hours on it, it's got the menu from a year ago, we've changed some things on it, the pricing's not the same, but whatever. Like, those are the places I like, because it's those are the people that are really doing something for them and their community, and it all ends up coming back here in and of that premise. And again, and I think you're right, there's a lot of structure in place on the east side of town that has potential to do stuff, and it just kind of sits there. Which is, again, that's why I brought up the baseball thing, because at least on paper, that's gonna be pitched as a way to revitalize that corner of the old city into East Knoxville, which it could. But I don't know.
I have some fear. I don't want to talk bad about it. I'm pro development, but I am not pro displacement.
Right.
So how do we balance that?
Right, that's a good question.
That's the question, or the quest I'm on as a county commissioner. Like, how do we balance that? Right. Because
the other side too is like, after having Virginia Babin here, one of the issues is we've got the, like, out on this side of town, which is where everybody seems to want to move in Knoxville, to be on the west side of town. Like, all these schools are overflowing before they even get open. Brand new schools built, and it's got 20% over capacity already. It's like, well, when we have schools that are perfectly good schools all over the city in the county area that don't have enough population to fill the school, how do we bring more families into that community, or keep families from moving out of that community as they raise up economically and run away from it? So yeah, because there's a lot of stuff that goes into that, and again, how to balance those two is a very interesting question to me.
It is, to me, it's all about balancing egos, Yeah. Till we get to the point that, we're serving people of Knox County, collectively serving people, and not like my district. I mean, that's just another layer of division. Right. So, it's like, you playing that power struggle. It's like, well, my district needs this. My district is more important than yours. Right. So it's just like, can we just think of it like, how can we bring economic growth
Well, I mean, for any, if nothing else, if you just this is how you fix traffic. You fix traffic by letting the occupancy of the county kind of coalesce into a more normal thing than this weird east-west thing that's very deliberate. It's just we follow 40 everywhere. That's if it's near 40, that's where the business is at. And it's like, well, let's let people kind of spread out, because like the south side across, once you get across the river, it's another country.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a different place, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just it's like the city has spent a lot of money on that south side project, and I personally don't see it doing what they want. I don't see it turning that south of the river all the way down there through Clinton Chapman Highway, turning that back into I don't see it. I don't know what the answer is. I would like it to be that way. One of the things to me that's obvious is crossing the river. The 4 points to cross the river aren't very easy.
But that's why they make it a destination with the urban wilderness,
Right.
So we get you to the urban wilderness, we get you to South Knoxville, and we get you spending money over there.
Right.
So it's, they created that destination over there because you may not come through 40, but if you come for a purpose to visit,
Right.
then that's where you
crossing
go.
the right.
It's all about how you share your story, how you share your narrative.
Yeah.
To get things done, and they shared their narrative.
I'm interested. I'm curious. I'm following it closely. Like I'm very curious about it. Like, well, I think the big housing complex, the big not housing complex, but the big apartment buildings that built down there. Then the city can't say who they're allowed to rent to. But the fact that they're targeting college kids, I've started hating on UT. I don't hate UT, but I've started hating on them.
Don't get in trouble. I got in trouble.
I understand. I fully understand their economic impact to the city county. They're a big kid and they do a lot of stuff. But it's on the same level of why I'm frustrated with some of the local news is that there's a selfishness to the way UT functions, and rightfully so. But we don't have to, as a county and city, just say, oh, okay, well, you're UT, whatever you say, and so it just feels like some of that goes on a little bit too much to me. But I got sidetracked. Okay, so the balance. Okay, I mean, I want more on that one. The balance of growth without displacement, or development without displacement.
Yeah.
That is a super phrase. I like it. How do we do it?
How we do it, and that's what I'm trying to figure out too.
Okay.
How we do it. We have opportunity zones. Do you know what opportunity zones
I've heard about
are?
them. I haven't heard much depth, but
a lot of Magnolia. There is some parcels downtown that's in an opportunity zone. I think a part of Mechanicsville, if I'm not mistaken, but don't quote me on that, listeners. But
Buster hard.
Yeah.
Get on her if she's not 100% accurate every time she opens her mouth.
I'm human. Oh gosh, I'm about to be
not
in
anymore.
trouble.
You're an elected official. You are next
know.
level.
Yeah. Oh well, I want to disappoint some people.
Yes.
But yeah, anyway, that's where people who have money can invest in opportunity zones and whatever, their capital gains, they don't have to pay taxes on their capital gains. So
Ooh, I bet have to. That's your seed.
yeah, so but who are the rich people? Are they the white people or the black people? So, I don't know too many blacks that can invest in the opportunity zone and help preserve.
Is it direct investment to a personal project, or would it be invest in somebody else's projects?
It would be,
as far as how the paperwork goes.
I think it's both.
Huh.
So that's just the struggle of our world, that wealth gap.
Right.
And that's what my fear is. That's what I'm bringing. I don't want to bring that voice. I know I'm everyone's commissioner, but sometimes I feel like our community, and when I say our community, I'm talking about the black community, has been left behind tremendously.
Okay.
And I know that makes people very uncomfortable with this. A real conversation.
It is like we had a
poverty rate.
We had our longest episode ever, and it was around that topic, because we're 4 white dudes. And I think we had a white wife in the group sitting in that night and whatever. We're trying to talk about it because, like, some of the struggle that I have is that the narrative that's out there is that I'm a bad guy. It's like, well, I don't think I'm a bad guy. I think I do my thing and whatever. And if I will acknowledge that I may be what's the word I'm looking for here? At least somewhat consciously irreverent about it. Like, I don't really think about it. I don't put a lot of effort and energy to it, and I'll own that part of it or whatever. But I'm also not going to own the idea that I'm a bad guy, just because I'm a white guy that has white kids and stuff like that. It's like I'm not a bad guy.
Yeah,
And so like we get into the, we went real deep down that rabbit hole in like the white fragility conversation and all that kind of stuff. Which it's a weird topic, and part of it is like there's not a lot in our little group that when we're on the show. There's not a lot of a diverse history among us. You know, we don't have we don't have a shared struggle between the three of us or four of us, let alone a shared struggle with other communities and other groups around. And so it's easy for us to put our viewpoint on others' place, and I think that's normal. I think people do that. Right. And so one of the things I'm at least trying to do is trying to at least acknowledge, be like, I don't know. That's the best I can do right now. It's just to at least acknowledge that I don't know how the world looks and acts to you. I know what I see. Yeah. And I try to act upon what I see in the best way I see moving forward. And so I don't know, because like that's a huge conversation that I'm willing to have. I just don't know where to start. Yeah. And again, as a white dude, I don't want to come off racist in having the conversation.
And that's what, and I think we have to get comfortable with the conversation as we move forward as a county. If we want to grow, I'm not here to call anybody racist or anything. I can care less if you're racist, you know.
See, that's what.
And that's the thing.
You're speaking my language. That's my thing. It's like people are racist. People are stupid. They're stupid people.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, I'm not going to try to hate you for it. I'm just like, okay, that's what you think, and I want to respect your opinion if that's you. Right. You know, not you, right. But you know, you as.
Did you hear that,
whoever.
Everybody? They should call me racist on my show. That's messed up.
Don't start nothing. It won't be nothing. No, I'm just messing. But yeah, I think we have to. I mean, it's so funny because I talk to other people and they like, well, I don't know how to have the conversation because I don't want people to think something bad about me. But like, we have to be uncomfortable. But we have to get through it. But let's build together, people. I said we are one. That is my slogan.
That is your slogan, and I like it. But I think one of the things that some of us, me, struggle with in that is that you see stories fairly regularly of maybe people in a poor attempt to have the conversation, maybe in a not very eloquent way of trying to start the conversation, for lack of a better word, go into the cancel culture game and they get canceled. And I mean, there's people getting fired from their jobs and stuff like that. And like, so we as a broader society, not Knox County specifically, but we as a broader society have started to build this little structure where you can't talk about it. You can have real personal consequences to trying to have a conversation about it. And there are some assholes out there that they are literally just assholes, and maybe they should have consequences for the way they talk about certain things. But there are some people that are out there that's just like, you know, like I got into it with a friend about the All Lives, Black Lives Matter thing, and I was like, well, all lives matter, I don't understand. And it wasn't a malicious thing. But like, I just said that out loud on air, I might get in trouble for that at this point. I doubt it. We don't have enough listeners that anybody that gives a shit's going to actually do anything.
Well, I'm on your show. You're going to get listeners. No, I'm just...
Well, that's fine. I'm just saying, you know, like saying that phrase out loud, and it's like it's you know, the further I've gotten into it, and the further that people are willing to talk to me about it and not just tell me I'm an idiot for saying it, you know, it's like, okay, I understand it's a parallel conversation, but they're separate. It's not that one is more or less. It's just that there's two different things going on, and this one's focusing on a specific thing. This one's focusing on all things. And so let's talk about the specific for a minute. That's all we're trying to talk about. And it's like, I get that. But if I wasn't dumb enough to say it out loud and had been lucky enough to have somebody kind enough to kind of slow me down and give me some direction on what it meant, it's like, it wouldn't have happened, and I would have just been still running around yelling all lives matter. I don't understand what this Black Lives Matter thing is.
Well, that's good, but you're a listener, and not everybody's a listener. Right. Like, you know, you got to stay open with that. You know, anytime we talk about Black Lives Matter, I do believe all lives do matter. But to me, right now, Black Lives Matter. As we see the state of what's going on with George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, you haven't.
Breonna Taylor one is one of the grossest.
So I mean,
because even like I've heard arguments about how like it was a legit warrant and stuff. It's like, I don't care. No knock warrants are ugly. Period. Yeah. There's no there. I can't think of a logical reason why you need to do a no knock warrant ever. There's no, like, it doesn't make sense to me. Oh, they might destroy evidence if we knock before we come in. Fine. Yeah. Maybe if that gives us a 90% less kill rate from this interaction, because like we talk about it all the time. I'm a hunter. I'm a proud gun owner and whatever. And if somebody comes pounding on my door at 2 a.m, that's the first thing I'm doing.
You're gonna get your gun.
And then I'm getting killed. And it's like, well, whether I have a warrant, whether there's something, whether there's a real reason for them to come in after me or not, that is still, I'm in my home, I'm in my bed, and somebody is pounding in my door. Right. And the first thing I'm going to do is go to full defense mode when somebody kicks in my door at 2 a.m. I don't care who they are. And it's like, how do we do that better? I don't know, but this is not the right way.
You're not fully conscious at 2 o'clock in the morning
I'm
anyway,
saying,
so anybody's bound to not make it.
Right, but I mean, it's just like there's like the logic behind it. What Matthew Park really educated me a lot on the bail system, and post that I heard a lot more about that. I think that some of that stuff's just obnoxious, but I don't know. I don't know how to have the conversation. I'm willing to. I want to.
But you having it.
I guess, but
that's what I want you to realize.
It's not fulfilling.
It is.
Like I don't feel like I'm doing anything.
But you are, because you're having a conversation. Because I bet most of the people that you're around, and I don't know your friends, so I'm not trying to generalize, but a lot of people will never have the conversation.
Right.
But at least you're open for the conversation. You're open into listening, and I think that's just where we have to be. I'm not saying that we have to solve the problem, and I'm not trying to get emotional about it, but can we just have the conversation? And I think that's where we have to do as a community.
That's a start, right?
Yeah, and you know, that I'm not here to judge anybody. If you don't believe Black Lives Matter, okay, that's fine. But you know, let's talk.
You could be like
it.
super nihilist about it and be like, no lives matter.
Yeah, so
like,
it's just
we're all gonna die eventually anyway.
Yeah, so I mean,
it'd be really depressing.
So you know, we had. I mean, I don't know when Matthew was on your show. Was that after we painted the Black Lives Matter mural that kind of tripped all of us up? And
I don't recall specifically. Like that story to me, the only part of that story in my attempts to try to follow it that was confusing to me. Was it not the principal of Austin East was like, I'm not sure this is a good idea, or was it the school board that runs
it was
District
the school
1?
board, yeah, for the district.
Yeah, that was like, you know, it's going to be a distraction for the students. Like that part was interesting to me. You know, I don't know. I don't like the idea of spending tax money on it. I don't really care though. I mean, I like whatever.
Well, tax money wasn't spent on it.
Then good, then do it. Paint all the roads. Paint whatever you want.
That was our community raising money.
Yeah, I think that. I mean, I think. I would like to see more of that in a more localized version, in the sense that like this is part of our community, and whether it's a specific, like, you know, we have the James Agee history here in Knoxville, and doing something like that style of thing, and having more monuments and art to what makes us special as a community. I'm totally down with that. I don't, you know, but I do have, as a fiscal responsibility, I'm not a big fan of spending a lot of tax dollars on it. We have other better things we can spend our tax money on. And so, yeah, but I mean, I get the principal's point though. I mean, you know, that kind of forces a conversation with the kids that they're supposed to be focused on other stuff, especially going into school this year with all the other crap going on with COVID and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I don't know.
I mean, and it's tough, you know, we never going to agree. But I think the lesson to learn about that is to respect each other in our disagreement.
Right.
And it turned out to be a very disrespectful conversation over paint when you think about it.
Right.
You know, and
I don't know. Let's be fair. It's not about paint.
Yeah, it's not.
It's about what, you know. I mean, it's like saying, you know, I don't know. It's the Mona Lisa is just paint and canvas. You know, there's a message that's in there. We may not know exactly what it is, but there is more than just paint on the surface.
It's bigger. It's Black Lives Matter, but it got to the point of where you should do it, the color of it. It's like, is that between
the communities trying to put it on, or is that because I mean
so it's so much out there, it's so much depth. So me being in there, I'm like, man, we argue over paint,
right?
Really?
Well, try being a libertarian. That we argue over everything.
So that's the thing, you know, that not trying to say that the words Black Lives Matter, that was an empowerment moment, and it was a beautiful moment for people who was there, and I was there, and it was a moment for a community to heal. And no media or anyone could say that unless they was there. Like the Facebook photos can show you a little bit, but when you was actually in that presence of the people and seeing community come together, and then just not blacks, it was whites, it was young and old. It was.
I mean, let's be fair.
Time.
Matthew Park is the whitest white person in the history of time. Maybe not attitudinally or anything like that, but like just the visual test. He's a super white kid. He's a good dude. I'm not trying to make fun of him for it, but he's whiter than me, and I'm pretty white people. That's all I'm saying.
Matthew was there with us painting.
He's a great dude. I mean, he was one of my more favorite interviews so far, as far as kind of shining some light on some things I hadn't thought about
Yeah,
before.
he's very knowledgeable about a lot of things, and I think he's a great person, and I look forward to whatever is next for him.
Yeah, he's on the Bradshaw campaign now.
Yeah,
And then he's the chair of like change.org, change.
Yeah, him and his campaign manager Drew
Yeah.
started Change.org.
Yeah,
so very passionate, very knowledgeable. I learned a lot from him, and hopefully continue to learn a lot from Matthew.
So to go back to not into the controversy over the street art project, but more into one of the things that I think we as a broader community, and I think this is both county, state, and federal level and stuff, is like, for whatever reason, we are all really good at finding the differences and not the sames.
We need to find.
And I think that's one of the things that we as a whole, and I think, this is a huge federal issue too, or at least national issue, maybe not federal government issue. And one of the things to me is I don't think the government can do it. I don't think the government can be the one to put this together for us. I think it's got to be community organizations getting in, and like we're in the South. I like barbecue. You like barbecue.
Yeah.
Like let's find the stuff. Like I didn't know that. I didn't ask you beforehand. I just knew that you like barbecue.
Yeah,
because
and I like music, and I'm sure you like music too.
Right. And so it's like,
where do we find that common ground and build from it? And
That's what's frustrating to me. Is like, because
Yeah.
it feels to me like it's like the first thing we do is find the first difference we can go,
Yeah, and then we hate
we
you.
we build the walls,
Yeah,
and then
and-
we start fighting over everything else
Yeah.
from there on forward. Instead of because at the end of the day, we're human beings. That's what we do. We want to live, and there might be different paths to go to get from A to B as a human being, but at the same time, we're in this space, and there we have a history as a country that we share. Some of it good, some of it bad. We have a history as a local community that we share. We have a history. We have all these different things, and we just don't bother looking at those anymore. It's
Yeah,
like, let's
and
just
we
skip
have to
that.
just
Let's.
get- yeah,
And
yeah.
I don't know how to. Yeah.
we go straight to fighting, and I don't want to fight. I mean,
I like to fight, but not like that.
well, not like that. I mean, I like to fight too, but but not like that. But like you said, we gotta find common ground. That's why I wanted the message of unity for my campaign,
Right.
and that's why I use "We Are One."
Right.
We're District 1, but we're
Right.
one people. You want a nice house to live in,
Right.
or safe, safe environment. Nice house is according to what you like.
Right.
What's your what you want.
I think one of the
You
things
want
too.
a good school for
I think
your
one of
kids to go to.
Right. I think one of the big things that nobody knows and nobody really can know is I stumbled across this talking to Virginia Babb, is that what is the work going to be? Like, what is work going to be in the not so distant future? Because a lot of the stuff, a lot of jobs are, especially post COVID. I think you're going to have a lot of office buildings that never fully come back.
I asked Mayor Jacobs about that.
A good chunk of people are gonna maybe keep the job and work from home or work remotely or virtually or whatever the term is. But like I was joking, is I bought a robot arm. There's a company that's building like specific, it's this robot burger flipping thing. It's basically, its point is to go in and
It's gonna cook for you?
Not for me. It's for like a McDonald's or something like that. It's a specific thing to build. It's because as we move forward with the technology and stuff, it is an inevitability to me that a lot of your McDonald's, your Burger Kings, your whatever's, they're gonna like
have robots.
right.
Amazon.
Amazon's right now like I think they said like 75% of Amazon is now automatedly packaged.
Oh wow.
Or something like that, or
And
in the
then
next couple of
drones
years.
are going to deliver our packages.
And that was Andrew Yang's whole thing in his presidential run for the Democrats, or the Democratic primary on the president thing. His whole thing in the universal basic income is like, we are going to be automated out of like 60% of our jobs in the next 10 years. And so when we talk about economic development and we talk about community development and all that kind of stuff, that's one of the questions to me that I think needs to be answered first. Because if you're going to try to grow a community, it's about work. Work's the number one thing, because work gets you the place to go during the day. Work gets you the money to pay the bills and to get the house, and then the fun part of community and the culture part comes out. But it's after those first two are covered. Maybe there's a couple more in there, but you get the idea. And then the culture part comes out, where it's now like the arts and the music scene that goes on and around that. But number 1A is the work, and what's the work going to be? And that's
the question we have to answer. And that's the part of being a visionary. So how do the future jobs look, and then how do we start building that infrastructure now?
Right.
Instead of building something from the past and
Right.
then it's going to die. You know
Right.
what I'm saying?
Well, that premise
Is
right
it-
there is one of the main reasons why I am on the idea of going metro. Because I think we all know it's coming. It's just a matter of when, not if.
When
It's
time and who's
right.
going to be the leader to do that.
Right. And so if we all know it's coming, is there an advantage to wait until we have to? Or is it, let's get it done, let's get it set up,
I think that's a danger, and
let's
that's
have
why,
that transition where it gets a little rough and it's a little
and
whatever.
do it now, so we not doing like what the schools are doing.
Right.
We're going virtual when we should have had that infrastructure done when the internet come out, 95. So we're like light years late, and
Right.
now we're stressing teachers out, stressing parents out, and stressing students out, and the world's being on the internet. Schools have been doing internet online school.
I mean, everybody made fun of me on the show. I was like, this was way before. This is like we started accidentally right before COVID did, and or at least before COVID hit. And so like as in conversation, one of our early episodes, I made a joke about how like if I had a full lesson plan as far as like what was required to be educated per year for my kids, I could probably go through YouTube, sit them down and watch a YouTube video.
Oh yeah.
Make a test. Like I could sit down and make a test. Like
YouTube can do a lot.
You know, and it's like
I changed my water pump on my car with YouTube video.
Yeah, I did my my blower fan from my air conditioner in my car. I did the same thing. I broke a screw on it. It really sucked, and now I have this weird noise that goes off every once in a while. But whatever, it works.
YouTube University.
I mean,
legit.
It's a tool in the toolbox. I'm not saying that we should fully educate that way,
No, yeah,
but
I understand.
the information is readily available and either free through YouTube or fairly inexpensive from other sources that we could be using to build structure around, or at least as an auxiliary to what's there as a cost-saving metric, but also as a quality of education metric or quality. I mean, there's a number of different applications in theory, but yeah, I mean, I agree. Like nobody saw the pandemic coming as big as it was. Like people have talked about it's possible,
But we
and
knew
it's a
our
thing.
world was moving forth in technology.
Right. And yeah, and realistically, you know, what's the like, because we have this struggle all the time. My wife and I, we talk all the time about how much screen time the kids get, how much time they get to play on their tablets and stuff like that. And like I was joking with Virginia Babb again about how terrible my handwriting is, which maybe it's hereditary because my oldest has got the worst handwriting ever. And it's like, but when is he ever gonna? I mean, realistically, outside of school, when is he ever gonna write by hand? Especially moving forward.
Yeah, I don't know.
You know, I made the joke. Like I made the joke. It's like when I was a kid, when I got home from school and went over to a buddy's house, I left a note on the table for my mom, and it was hard to read, but it was there. And she was like, "Yeah, but he's just going to text you." And I was like, "You think I'm buying him a phone? What are you talking about?" But you know, I mean, there's that all that'll be there. I mean, you know, like whatever his little toy tablet is, will have messaging on it or something like that, and so he can get a hold of me, which is good. But at the same time, it's like I have this stigma in my head where I need to make sure he can write, and it's like, well, he needs to be able to use language. But to physically write by hand, I don't know how important that is anymore. I mean, I complain all the time. I had an employee that couldn't write a check. She was 20 years old and didn't know how to write a check.
And you thought that was weird.
I think that's
and
terrible.
She probably thought you was weird.
She's like, I don't
that
know
you write
what is this thing, and it's like people bring us stuff, and when they deliver it, we have to give them money or they take it back with them, and we don't get it to sell. That's how it works. And she's like, yeah, but why don't you like give them a credit card? It's like, because certain things you can't do that. We have a beer permit. Beer you can't buy beer on a credit card as a business.
Oh, okay. So you have to write a check.
You have to write a check. You used to be able to do cash, and then the beer companies quit taking cash because drivers started getting robbed.
Oh, wow.
And so there was that other thing. And so I don't know. But yeah, I think that's that. The more I'm talking to people, that's the key thing that I need to find a futurist to come on and tell me what the future's going to look like.
Yeah, that's what I try to say. Like, where does the future? I mean, how does it look? I mean, so my church is not in Knoxville or whatever, but we're already on a virtual platform where it's a virtual campus, and we have avatars.
Really?
Yes, and we I log in with my avatar. I can change what I have on that day, change my hair, change my lipstick.
Easter Sunday, you get the hat out.
Yeah, it's like whatever however I want to dress, and we walk the church campus, and we go to the auditorium, or you can just walk, and it has a beach on the church campus, and you can meet with people on the beach.
Is there a ski resort too, so you could ski and go sit on the
it's
sun?
a boat. They have a boat, so I mean, is that the future?
It probably
because
is.
it's better to me. I was telling my friend, I don't know if I might be going crazy. I mean, don't tell anybody, but yeah, Zoom.
All right, everybody, stop listening for a second.
Zoom is cool, but to me, the whole virtual that platform that we use, I I felt more connected
Right.
with my avatar because it's like we're walking, but I'm actually talking to the person. I mean, it just seems more interactive. Maybe
Right.
it's just something that's different that I'm excited about.
And that's how, I don't know, because again, referencing the Virginia Vab conversation, she brought up how, as much as we complain as parents about how much time our kids are on the tablet, it was very clear that as much as my oldest, especially, like, I don't want to go back to school. It's like, yeah, you do. As soon as he got there, it's the friends, the physical,
Yeah, you need that
the physical
social.
thing, and yeah. So I mean, I don't know. That's it's the. I mean, I think a lot of stuff will be done in the cloud or whatever. I think a lot of the more what I would call mundane. You know, I mean, I guess we're functioning like that. This is an internet program essentially. I'm a content creator, you know, and so and as a consumer of content, it's usually like streaming service and stuff like that. I very rarely. I quit bothering watching the news because I don't learn anything off it, or it's all national stuff and I don't care. But you know, and so yeah, I mean, I agree that I think that's a lot. But what's the work in that? You know, we can't all be computer programmers. We can't all write code. And at some point, somebody's gonna write the code that beats the code, where it's more like, I mean, I was joking about the lady who can't build a website earlier. Like Squarespace is not a sponsor yet. Wink, wink.
Okay, Squarespace.
You guys love sponsoring podcasts, and anyway, you know, they make it really easy. You don't have to have the coding skills to make a good functional website through that kind of stuff. And I think as all this other stuff progresses, we're going to get one of those that's kind of a functional platform where, depending on what you want to go build online, it makes it Squarespace website style for whatever thing you're building on the other side. Maybe there'll be different versions for different things. Like if you want to build games, there'll be a game hosting site where you can go and build your own game in there, and then just like we do with the podcast, you can then go put it out to the world and people can join and play and stuff like that. And so that would be some of the work as the creative, because that's the one thing that, at least as of yet, the computer can't do yet, is the creative part.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we're going to be the one, but you know, you're still going to need healthcare professionals too.
Oh no, what's his face is we're going to get the implants. Everything's going to be fine. Not Bezos. Elon Musk has got his Neuralink, and then Bill Gates is going to give us the implants, and everything will be good. Our bodies will take care of themselves through the internet. I mean, these are and realistically, as much as that's kind of a joke, but it's not really. It's not that far off. I mean, you've got like the Apple Watch and all the biometrics in there. There are apps that you can link to a doctor.
You know, and that's, I mean, I think about, you know, hospitals. You know, we might, I don't know. Are there going to be robots at home taking care of us so we don't have to be in the hospital?
I think one thing, I realistically, one thing in an economic development thing, I think the premise of these centralized hospital systems are problematic, both for the patient as well as the doctors. The only people that are really pro giant hospitals are the giant hospitals. Like, I think the corner clinics, the neighborhood doctor, that premise to me needs to come back.
Of course.
I like.
We need more doctors doing home visits.
Yeah.
You know, I'm a physical therapist. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
Yeah, so I'm in healthcare. But yeah,
I got an elbow thing. You know, I'm just kidding.
Okay,
I mean, I do, but
after this, I'm charging. I'm trying to make some money. But anyway, but yeah, I think doctors need to start doing home visits again.
Yeah.
I think it needs to, you know.
Well, and now that you're
now
that you're in government, find out why they don't.
Okay.
Because I guarantee you, it's not because they don't want to.
Yeah, it's because insurance companies are our bosses now. It's depressing. I ain't gonna lie. I've been, you know, it's depressing being a physical therapist at time. I love being a PT. Don't get me wrong. But as far as like the reimbursements and how they try to kick us out, I'm seeing patients that really need it, and like they invested their money in insurance, but you telling me that they don't need it.
I mean, I think
can't walk.
Right. I think one of the things to me, the broad spectrum things, because it goes under teachers too, is the bureaucracy side of a lot of jobs does create jobs, both for the bureaucracy side as well as the doctor's office, who essentially has to hire an accountant just to deal with the paperwork. But I think it kills more professionals than it does create. I think more people get out of a profession, whether it's teaching or healthcare or something like that, because or even just business owners. As a small business owner, one of the biggest issues I have, I get at least, we joked about this, I get at least a letter a week that is some sort of tax document, whether it's city, state, county, federal, some sort of tax document that's like something coming up, something you already paid, a receipt for something. It's just constant. Like constant paperwork. And it's like, I didn't get into business to do paperwork.
Right.
I got into business to
help people
do whatever the thing is that my business does. And so that is as a newly crowned government person, That is something that I, as a constituent, loathe. And just like it drives me crazy. Like we're in the process of opening a new store and we're trying to get our beer permit together. All right, and so if you've been to a beer board meeting, they're the biggest waste of time ever because all you do is stand in front of them, and as long as you have the checklist of things, they say, okay, you got your beer permit, and which is cool because it shouldn't be that hard to get a beer permit, but the list of things you have to do with it, and it's like, well, if I'm doing a remodel on a building, I have to have the fire marshal come out, I have to have the building inspector come out, I have to have the order come out. Those don't count for my beer permits, fire marshal inspection, electrician, whatever, all the different inspections I have to have. They're separate versions of the same thing. Like I can't put these things together.
And it all costs.
It's not streamlined, right? And everybody, and and again, maybe it's the fire marshal making sure he keeps his job because he has to go out and do all these inspections all the time, and that's how he can justify his salary. But I don't know. Like I think there's a lot of bureaucracy that's tacked on to a lot of work, which I think gets in the way a lot.
What discourage people to start businesses, and we need more entrepreneurs and.
Because it's not like depending on what you're trying to do, as long as you're not trying to go in and be the biggest thing right off the bat, as long as you understand there's a growth period, especially in the restaurant game. We're in Knoxville, there's restaurants opening and closing every day. It's closing a lot more now than normal, but I can't think of any restaurant that I've worked in, which I spent a lot of time in restaurants when I was younger, that there was any malice about food, health, and safety. There might have been some ignorance, but there's no malice in it. And so the way the health department works and all that kind of stuff, at least gets you the feeling that they think you're a bad guy when you're not doing things right, instead of you're just kind of being dumb or ignorant of a particular thing. And so like it's almost there's an adversarial relationship there between the two bodies, and I think that's one of those things that scares people when they get into it. It's like, oh no, the health department's coming. No, the health department's coming. Come on, whatever. They're going to come in here. They're going to see that I screwed something. They're going to be like, hey, fix that. It's not a big deal. But just, you need to fix that. Or here's the thing. If you have any questions, call us in the future or whatever. It doesn't feel like it's a group that is working for me as a business owner. It feels like a group that is working against me. And I guess is my point. And those kind of relationships are one of the things I think we need to figure out how to shift around too. Because I think that'll get more people involved and active and, talking to economic development. It's like, I want to work. I want to go start a business, whatever it is. But I don't want to deal with that.
All that stuff. Yeah. And it's confusing. And so like you already said, but
and it's expensive,
right.
Trying to get down and go into the different offices down in the city county building and trying to find parking down there and all that kind of stuff. And I don't know. That to me is one of the big things that I think can help, is trying to figure out and maybe set. I don't like saying this out loud because it sounds totally antithetical to my normal statements, but maybe some sort of like a liaison's office that can be assigned and help people through the process.
A business incubator, that's something that, some of our community members want, that one-stop shop to do all that stuff, right. And have someone there to walk you through the process.
Right, and another one too would be just we used to do it. We used to have the sheriff's office had little random county little offices here and there. I don't know if we still do.
They do.
I know the last one I remember was in Easttown, and Easttown is gone. So
so they're building it over where Home Depot is. I do not know that street.
Millertown.
Yeah,
it's Millertown and something.
Yeah, whatever. That's where it's gonna be. It used to be the old Food Line.
But so like stuff like that, but a little city county building pushed around town. The problem with that is I would hate to be the person that works in there though. That would suck.
Well, if you love your job, it won't suck. So,
but I'm just saying,
you're not going to be the person that works in there.
But if you're working in there, you're going to have everybody coming in asking every possible question. Yeah. But that person's job shouldn't be to know the answers, but to know who to find the answers from. How to find the answers.
Yeah. Like, they got to love people.
Right, and let's work together and let's get you the list. Here's the person you need to contact, that kind of stuff. And I think that'd be great. I think that'd be great for a lot of different stuff. Yeah. Turning in paperwork, moving paperwork, getting questions. Like one of the things that frustrates me more than anything is asking a legal question. Who do you ask a legal question to?
Your attorney.
Yeah. And what do they say? It's my opinion.
You're right.
They don't say it is or isn't. They say I will or will not defend this. Is really what they're saying.
And it's all about how you interpret the law, the
right?
policy,
And it's just
or
like
whatever
it frustrates the crap out of me because like specific things, there's no like how is something that like there's easy ones like kill or don't kill. That's that's easy.
It's like you want to ask the question: am I going to go to jail for this or am I not?
Right.
And am I going to get fined or am I not? So if it's like no to that, then I say jump off and go ahead and do it.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like it's just such a weird thing. I tried to do a fundraiser a few years ago, and it was going to be a poker game. And the state of Tennessee, like there's a lot of gambling that you're allowed to do in the state of Tennessee, but if it involves cards or dice, it's a whole nother level of how much they aren't okay with it. So like if it's like raffles and bingo and all these other little like kind of simple gambling things, the state doesn't care as much. But if it's cards or dice, then you're a casino and it's a big deal. And so it's like, I want to do this fundraiser. We're doing it for Wounded Warrior Project or whatever. I called the DA's office at Knox County, or the Knox County DA's office. I ended up with the state attorney general's assistant. Was the last person I talked to before I gave up. And essentially it was, I don't think anybody will do anything about it. That was the answer I got from the state.
And it's like kind of scary because
right. And I'm trying to
just answer those two questions. Am I going to go to jail or am I going to get fined?
Right. And it's like, well, I appreciate that answer, but it's like, I'm trying to do a fundraiser. Yeah. So one of the things when you do a fundraiser is you spend as little as you have to do it. Right. And so I don't want to bring the attorney in that's cost $200 an hour. Right. Who's literally going to say, well, if the cops come in and arrest you or fine you for this, I will defend you on it because you followed X, Y, and Z. And it's like, why can't there be a yes or no on this? Yeah, and for the love of God.
Yeah, and it could be a cool fundraiser, but like you said, sometimes we have too many rules that prevent people from being creative.
Right, and too many rules and not a clear line to answer a question. Like not a clear. This is almost where we started. We're hitting that hour that we're going to try to cut off here pretty soon. We were hitting that hour, and one of the things we started with was like, who do I go to about this sidewalk? There's been a big chunk of this sidewalk taken out. I've seen kids run over it at their bikes and tear up their tires and flip over it and hurt themselves and all that stuff for months now, and nobody's doing anything about it. Who do I call? My stupid fundraiser version is a broader example of the same thing. It's like, who do I call to answer that question? And it's one of those that I don't think we as the citizenry really understand where our avenue to connect with our government officials is.
That's why you have a frustrated community,
right,
and an angry community,
right. And because I think there's a lot of stuff that I think that we have intentionally or unintentionally over the years built an adversarial relationship between the government and the people. Oh yeah. I think that there's an authoritative, at least feel, and maybe it's not intentionally there. Maybe it's more of a perception on us regular people's side of things. But there's a subject subjugator kind of general feel that goes on, and I'm not sure who started it or where and I think that thing, like I made the joke the other day at a show. It's like, do you remember when you stopped liking police? Like when you were a kid. Like I don't remember specifically, but I remember around like 12 or 13, it went from, oh, the cop guy at the school, yay, to,
I'm scared.
Yeah, what did I do? Did I do something? Is he here for me? Like everybody I know has that. Like I've asked that question to 100 people. Nobody remembers the specific, but everybody's like that 10 to 15, somewhere in that range is when that shift happens. Because you realize
being pulled over for speeding, that's when it happened.
Right.
I'm a speeder.
You need to hang out with my wife. No, you don't. You guys go drag racing and both get tickets. But it's like at some point that shift happened. And I think that same shift is people's perception of government as a whole, is that at some point, whether it's a specific event, whether it's just a series of events, whether it's stories from other people or something like that, at some point that you're here for me, police or government or whatever, shifted into anything I can do to avoid you. Anything, if you don't see me, that's a good day. Like the joke at my day job is to my boss, if you don't get a phone call from him, everything's okay. That's the joke from the boss, like the top level guy in the office that I work at, is like, the less you talk to him, the better. Because if he's calling you, there's a problem. And it's like, that's fine. That's a work relationship, whatever. But that shouldn't be how our government people's relationship is. Yeah. So that's, I don't know. That's kind of my thing.
Because, I feel like we're progressing. We're getting more engaged with stuff. But, the media. You remember when TV, how old are you?
How old are you?
I'm 40.
38.
Well, you remember when TV used to go off at night? We didn't have as much access to information as we do now. And, maybe we never was supposed to trust the government. And maybe it's just things are getting exposed. Right. I don't know.
I know. I think you're totally right.
I think it's just like, we're more.
I'm a libertarian, so okay. I don't think we as people are built to be especially a super centralized. I don't think we as communities are one thing. I don't think we're built to deal with this many people, whatever the range is. I think I can't remember who. There's some smart not ecologist, but biologist or something like that, who talks about how the human psyche can function at like 1,500 people, but realistically it should be like 150. At about 150 people, that many people you could interact with, you could know them on a what we would call a personal level, but past that it just turns into a thing, and it's kind of, it might have been a younger. Anyway, so essentially it's like we as a species evolved into into systems of very small groups, and that's where the whole tribalism thing that everybody argues about is how stupid right now. It's normal. It's normally functional for us evolutionarily, is that we're used to these small groups, these small 150 100 to 150 people groups, or primate groups, probably not even people yet, as this thing kind of going, and then another one, even though they're the same, is another one, and so there's an avoidance or a conflict, and that's how survival went throughout the longer term history. And so like you're saying, like now that we went from having hundreds of thousands from our direct community and a little bit outside through the TV and stuff, to having 330 million Americans that we can all sit in their living room more or less. If they're the type that want to share their living room with us, we can see and know everything about them. And trying to keep up with all that's too much for our psyche. And so the theory posed by, again, I think it's a younger, but I'm probably wrong. The theory kind of proposes that this hyper tribalism that we're seeing right now is a weird attempt to pull back, but instead of pulling back to directly like me and you sitting in the room together groupings, it's pulling back into like the similarities pullings. And so even though it's California's and New York's and Alaska's and Hawaii's and Germany's and whatever, I'm pulling into the most like me's, but throughout the world instead of throughout my direct community. And so that's his argument and why the internet is so hyper polarized about everything,
because we can't get together and really talk across tribes. Is
right.
that what you're saying? Right,
but there's like like the kind of weird kind of gross version of it is like I'm trying to think of like some random sort of fetish, maybe not a sexual fetish, but some sort of random fetish that people are that have, where in a normal community of 150 to 1,500 or something like that, there might be 2 or 3 of those out there, whatever their specific thing is. But if you go worldwide, there's 1,500. 10,000 of those, and so instead of them being and not to cast an objectionable person to the side, but to somebody who would kind of keep that thing kind of to themselves, because maybe it's not societally acceptable, whatever that thing is, they are able to vocalize that because they have a community behind them. But it's a worldwide community. It's not a physical next to them.
It's just not Knoxville.
Right. And so these really, like I guess it'd be like a doppelganger, the doppelganger theory. Like it'd be like when it comes down to it, there's thousands of doppelgangers of you in the world. And you can, through the internet, you can find all them, and you can be in a group with just them. And so I'm just saying. No. And so you take that group that is very specific, and so like on 100-point list of ABs on all these different questions, you could find enough people that are all A's, and you can be with that group. And then I can find a group that's all B's, and then somebody else can find a group that it's A, B, A, B, A, B, A, B all the way down, but they match 99%, a lot more than we can do naturally, directly in communication with other people. So I don't know, it's crazy.
Sounds cool.
It's neat.
Found the people and build our community and live happily ever
right.
after.
We just got to figure out a way to just pack everybody up and put them in the corner of Wyoming and then another corner over here and whatever, and just keep them separated.
Maybe it won't be division. I don't know. Maybe that's too much.
Yeah, I don't know, but it's just like I do get behind the premise that our brains and we have not evolved to function in what we are now seeing ourselves in. Like the access to information, the inability to keep up with the volume of information, and then to break down that information into truth and false, and having reliable sources for where you can find corrections and all that kind of stuff. Because again, you get into the major media, it's like, well, it's not the truth. It's the version of the truth, or the version of the truth.
Do you think that's why we having a breakdown in like mental health issues, and we having an increase? Or
I think there's definitely an increase. The increases the stress level. There's especially right now. I would say, it'll be interesting to watch as our kids grow, having lived online their entire lives where we didn't. Right. Like we were talking about, TV went off at night.
Yeah. The Star Spangled Banner.
Right. And so like I I had like I remember the first computer in my middle school. I'm like, whoa.
I remember the Oregon Trail. Did you play that?
I didn't see. My mom wasn't cool with the Oregon Trail. I was Carmen Sandiego. That was my game.
Oh, okay. I don't know. Yeah, we played Oregon Trail at
Oregon
school.
Trail was good. Yeah, you died of dysentery like everybody else. It's fine.
Yes.
But we had Carmen Sandiego, but like and then like in mid '90s when I moved down to Knoxville is when we had dial up. And doing anything online was super exciting and cool and slow.
And slow, yeah.
Where now if it's not instantaneous, we're pissed.
Going crazy.
Yeah, and so I think the technology is moving faster than we're the technology is evolving faster than we are. And I think part of what we're seeing in both mental health and but especially the broader societal kind of breakdowns that are going on right now, I think it's just we can't our brains can't handle what's going on, and so in reaction to stress you scream, and that's kind of what I think is part of what we're seeing.
I think we need to start living our lives a little bit more and just chill.
I think we need to figure. I think there's
and kind of find self. Now I'm gonna get all suck.
No, I think
inner
that's
self, find our healing.
That's one of the things I totally agree with. Like I'm trying to figure out how to go and do a backcountry by myself. I haven't done that in a couple of years, and it's like couldn't sleep, scared to death. Like the whole time I was like, why did I do this? This is a bad idea. And then I got down the mountain and tore my feet up. It was awful. Got down the mountain and I was like, when am I going back? I got to figure out how to go back and do this again. Like I think that's the other side of the internet and like how easy things are now. Like how easy it is to fill your time now. We don't have ingenuity through boredom anymore. We don't go out and jump off trees and do stupid stuff like kids used to do because you just sit there and do this. And so I think there is a lack of struggle in filling your day. Maybe not in broader sense, but like in just individuals, especially younger individuals, there's no struggle to fill your day with something. And since you've got it full of something, there's no struggle to that, so you just go to sleep and start over. Where there, for us older folks out there, you had to get after stuff. You had to have days that sucked. You had to have hours of doing nothing that you just hated, but you had to do that. And there's something to that grind that's important that I think a lot of people. I think I'm scared to death that my kids are missing. Like I love it. Like I love it when they're like, I'm bored. I'm like, okay, do something. Figure it out.
Find something to do.
I'm not going to do it for you.
Yeah, create something.
Yeah. All right, we got to cut it off because I'm having too much fun, and we'll go right up into the next show, and then I've got to figure out how to transition and turn things off and on at the same time. It's cool. So, Dasha, Lundy, everybody, District 1.
I hope I'm not in trouble.
I hope I am in trouble. I don't know. Whatever.
I don't want to be in trouble. I'm new to the job.
Then that's exactly why you should get in trouble. Get in there and mess up and be like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm new.
I'm gonna blame you.
It's fine. Absolutely do it. Blame me, and then I'll blame Knox News or something like that, or I'll blame the voters. Remember, it's me.
Yeah,
I blame the voters.
Yeah.
So what you heard tonight is Dasha blames you voters of District 1 for putting her here. So if she screws up, it's your fault. We are almost in agreement at gmail.com. We're on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. We're on most podcast providers. If we are not on a podcast provider you like, shoot me an email. I'll figure out how to get on there. Dasha, is there anything you want to put out as far as people getting in contact to you? You want your website?
DashaLundy.com is my website. My county email is dasha.lundy@knoxcounty.com.
All right, I'll put that in the show notes, everybody. So if you want to get in touch with her, especially if you're in district, then she has to answer you. If you're out of district, then she might blow you off, but whatever. Again, almost in agreement. We really appreciate Dasha for coming out. Had a really great time. I got some more stuff in the pipeline for next week. We have the big show coming up here in a little bit, so y'all have a good night, and we'll talk to you soon.